in the community
Thank you.
to make a better world for tomorrow.
We try, and that's all we can do.
Now, Chris, I want to put some stats to you. In Davos a month ago, we had a lot of wonderful technologies coming to us in the future. And one of them was to replace these lords that you talked about. The average age of the lord in our House of Lords. Chris, do you know what the average age is?
It's only pretty high, you tell me.
Well, it's exceeding 70, you know. And you got that age group shaping the world or shaping UK. Youngsters, we have a very high proportion of young people which are from the age of up to 35. So what transpired from tomorrow's world is that our governance will change radically. There won't be any House of Lords. You'll see very few MPs, even 650, old Roman Senate, 2,000 years old, if that. And
Well, the Commons is much younger than the Lords, and in fact,
yeah,
great challenge is as a lobbyist is that half of them are now new, over half of them are now new. In other words, they haven't even spent a year in Parliament. Whereas in the Lords, of course, as you rightly point out, we have a situation of an enormous. It's the second largest legislative chamber anywhere in the world after the Chinese one.
so at Davos, I asked the question, Chris, that
Yeah.
where are the young people? Why is everybody here over the age of 50? And the answer was, they laughed. Of course, they didn't have a correct answer, and they said, the young people are writing all the code for tomorrow's world back at home, right? And that was the answer. So where I'm going with this is to say that tomorrow, we don't need a red, blue, and yellow, do we? To create ideology, to create a narrative, and divide our communities even further. If anybody wants to care to look up division on ChatGPT and see what you get out of it, how division is used as a tool of rule, how anti-Semitism is used as a tool of rule. What about you worked in Islamophobia?
Well, not-
If is there any law against being anti-Islamic?
Well, first of all, Zed, I mean, I know you're trying to draw this conversation into AI and what the future holds. But for me personally, right now, as an individual, as a human being, an ordinary human being, as a British Muslim, I'm really interested in about what we're facing presently and current time. I mean, yes, absolutely, AI threatening to take over pretty much everything we're told.
It's not threatening. It's here to work with you,
Yes.
not against you.
Yeah, I mean, I am no expert on AI, Zed, so I'm not even going to go into that debate. But I will say that as an individual, as a human, as a British Muslim that is deeply concerned about what I'm seeing around the world in Palestine, basic rights being taken away, and complete impunity given to perpetrators like Israel, and others that are really complicit in this. I'm very keen to talk about how we as individuals, what is our role in this? How do we address, what can we do to support existing initiatives that are, demanding justice, that are demanding accountability for those complicit in this, including our own British government. Unfortunately, I'm sad to say, our government is very much complicit in this genocide. So I hope we can have a discussion on how we as individuals, what can we do?
Well, I'll tell you one thing is, I'll ask Chris a question now. Chris, you're there?
I am indeed.
Here's an easy question for you. There's one particular media bias human being with the initial PM. How many times does he say, do you condemn to date?
Yeah. I mean,
If you don't know the answer, you can say, I've lost count. I'll accept that.
I've lost count.
There you go. Now, this is where we're coming from. The media bias does not help at all to advance a better human world.
Let me just address this, Zed. We can complain about it, and we can complain about other issues. There's debates over AI. But actually, I think what is really needed is that we need to fight for the democracy that we have here, our rights as citizens, as voters. And we need to learn how to better get across our points of views to the politicians, to make sure that they understand actually that they cannot count on people's votes if they're going to be ignored, and that if you make a well-honed argument on a particular issue, and it might be AI, it might be Palestine, it might be Islamophobia, that they have got to listen to it. So young people also have that chance to get involved in politics. And I think it's really important we say, if you absent yourself from the debate, if you don't get involved, then others whom you won't like will be taking it over and monopolizing it. So we've got to use the best tools. And this is very much what CABU does. I mean, we go in, we engage with the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, the processes of government and parliament to try to influence that debate. And it is really about how we do this more effectively and to inspire younger people to get involved in that sort of way. What will make a difference? So you asked me, at the beginning, how we might change the world. We have to, as citizens, stand up for these rights, use the very avenues that are open to us, all too often aren't. Many people complain they may go out on marches and sign a petition. They've never asked to meet their member of parliament. I come across this the whole time. Use the most effective tools. Write to them. A handwritten letter is best. Make the cases in a well-argued, disciplined, not in an angry way, but using facts, using solid arguments, international law, because that is the way to try to put pressure on governments. And if you want to get involved in politics, join the political party of choices. They're going to be around in whatever form, and work with them. Get to know people, network.
Your colleague Saida has already joined a political party. She's come to our studio dressed in blue. Right? So there is an act of division, color coding division, caste, color, creed, culture, tradition, religion. So we got to move away from all of that, Chris, and make a better world by telling more people about CABU and tell them.
We shouldn't, obviously divide and polarize according to race and ethnicity and all of that. But a healthy political debate is necessary. And, we can debate how we're going to combat climate change or how we're going to deal with all the other great issues of the world at the moment and the conflicts. There's a debate. That's what we need to be involved in. Not a violent one, but one that tries to get answers and solutions. And we need to be looking for proper solutions. So it is about being involved and being involved in a more effective fashion.
Chris, now we're going to do some work, right? We've done enough talking. Never a radio program at Ramadan FM where we pack in 12 months of content and work in 1 month. We only do this for 1 month. Then we go back to our daytime job. So, Chris, we need to create now a conclusion and something out of this program and this meeting with you, Chris, that we can do more engagement with the people on the street.
One thing I'd just like to mention, I don't know, Chris, whether you've touched on this, is about the way we shape public opinion. Our engagement, direct engagement, through schools, through debates, through online briefings that are open to, publics and influencers throughout UK, it directly impacts on ordinary folks. So as recent as 2 weeks ago, we did a YouGov poll with Medical Aid for Palestine, CABU, we led on that. 73% of ordinary British public do not support Trump's proposal to ethnically cleanse Gaza. That's a big deal. 73% of ordinary British public want our government to oppose Trump's proposition for Gaza and indeed Israel. And only a few months back, we did another YouGov poll where vast majority of the British public want UK to stop selling arms to Israel. So, we are seeing a complete disconnect with the government and the ordinary people. And that's where my hope lies. The ordinary people want to see change. And ultimately, our politicians are here to serve the people. So what we need to do is make sure our voices are getting louder and clearer so that we are effectively influencing
The only way it works is for the public to vote out those MPs that are forever hogging their seats and got these majority 22,000, so on.
Well, Zed,
That's the only way.
That's one way, but I would say that there are others, and we're not going to have a general election now for another, nearly 4 years. So, you've got to put the pressure on those people who are in there to make them, well aware that they could lose the next election and that they need to work harder to secure all our votes. So we shouldn't wait to 2027, 2028, whenever the next election is. We need to be working now, and I know a lot of people are, and Shahada is absolutely right. I mean, we mustn't lose sight of some of the strengths we have. Huge public support. The situation on the ground, the reality of it is so stark. It's very clear, I think, to most right-thinking people that what Israel's done in Gaza is wrong. You see those images of the moonscape, every building obliterated. We just have to translate that public support into a meaningful political change, making sure that Keir Starmer worries about it when he gets up in the morning, because he knows that he's got to stand up for those rights that he's hitherto failed to do.
He's just given away 2 billion of your money, Chris. A few pounds of that was yours and yours, Shahida, and only a pound of mine. And now he's given that away.
Good tax evasion going there, I see.
Yeah, to go and fight to create more war and kill more human beings in Ukraine. Last week he gave that 2 billion, and my appointment at the NHS is like 1 month away, just to see a GP. What's going on there, Chris?
Well, this is, yet again where you need to make your voice heard. There'll be some people who support, enhancing our defense, and so forth because of the threat from Russia, and others who will think that we are being too warlike, too aggressive, and there is that debate, and you have to.
I don't think that people truly know that there's 500 million in the USA and about 400 million in Europe, including UK, and there's 140 million in Russia. So you got something's wrong here, Chris. You got the 350 million who are seeking help from the 500 million to go and sort out the 140 million.
Well, let me also say, look, one of the biggest ambitions that we have is to get the government into a more conflict resolution mode. We believe that conflict resolution and prevention is key. And it's not just Russia, Ukraine. Think of all these long-running conflicts. We have Afghanistan, Sudan, Syria, Libya, Yemen. As a global community, we've been very poor at bringing these conflicts to an end. And often, sadly, Britain has been involved in stirring them up. So very much our rationale is to look at how do we resolve these conflicts, get the parties around the table to get into viable peace processes, which, by the way, the more they include women, for example, you increase the chances of those peace processes working and lasting, so that we don't have to spend gazillions either on arms or on international aid as a result of these conflicts. Because this is what's happening in Gaza right now.
Right, Chris.
We're failing politically, and then we're having to pay out huge sums of money for the aid because of that political failure.
Just a message from listeners. I'm just going to go through them. That first time in history, we have seen killings, mass killings, and soldiers dressing up in women's lingerie in the history of war in this last 100 years. So there are people who are very vigilant and they see what's happening, Chris, out there.
I mean, there's those TikTok videos of Israeli soldiers doing all of that. It shows the utter dehumanization of Palestinians, that they're treated like animals. And we don't call this out. Not one single minister has called out the genocidal rhetoric of many of the Israeli leaders that have been uttered very clearly.
They're too afraid because they follow the money. They follow the money.
They need to stand up. It's not just, I mean, it's also sucking up to the United States.
Yeah.
There are reasons behind it. And we need to be actively putting pressure on those elected representatives. They are beholden to the public. We need to shape that public opinion and make the arguments. You know, we can sit there and watch and do nothing, and nothing will change.
This is where I will not rely in the future on the 650 MPs to tell me what's right and what's wrong. I'll be more reliant on stats, data that will define that. If your version of a genocide is different and mine is different and Shaida is different, the simple fact is we're looking to sustain the world with our carbon footprint, yet we are quite happy to allow killing and allow our media to get away with it. It'll be in history that the media stood back and did not stop the killing. Editors out there, if you are listening, you're all going to be held to account tomorrow.
Look, guys, if I may, I'd really like to bring us back. I know it looks gloomy, but look, I'm an optimist, and I really believe that we as individuals, we as the public, we really have a lot of power in our hands. And I think the first point is to realize, because collectively, when people work together, there's power. We saw what happened just last summer, Zed. We saw the far right coming out, trying to destroy mosques, trying to, hurt the Muslim community. And they were, and of course, they had Elon Musk behind them, trying to really fuel hatred and create havoc, create a civil war, right? So, but we saw what happened with the power of the people. That narrative changed. Momentarily at least, and for the time being. I mean, we saw the outpouring of support. The power, I really believe, is with public. I know it's too optimistic to speak like this, but I'm a firm believer. Yes, you've got 650 MPs. We saw what happened in Leicester. Classic example. Jonathan Ashworth did not condemn what Israel was doing. The constituents were very unhappy. They voted him out. And so you have somebody in Parliament right now, in the form of Shaukat Adam, who's voicing concerns, who's representing the constituents' view. And I think this is a lesson for us, that really and truly, if we raise enough awareness with the public and we keep at it, we will see change. And we saw it in South Africa. It's not like as if we never saw these examples in history. We saw change in South Africa, and I'm a firm believer that we will see change in Palestine.
So, Chris, we go back to what Shaida is saying, be the change that we want to see in this world. And all of us should always remember that quote, be the change that we want to see in this world. We repeat it each year, and we never forget. We never forget what happened yesterday, and we are here to learn from our experience of yesterday. Chris, never again, it means never again.
Yeah.
It does not mean that you can pick and choose, pick sides and kill human beings. And this is the message forward.
I couldn't agree more. And, the sooner we can end these conflicts, end these egregious abuses of human rights, end a situation where people are being starved to death, not by accident of nature or famine, but by...
Right, Chris, we got 10 seconds. It was wonderful to have you here on Ramadan FM, and we'll keep in touch, Chris.
Hopefully we come
Thank
back
you very
again.
much.
Thank you. For
Inshallah. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll speak to you tomorrow again at 1 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.